I got an email last week on Facebook from someone who was like, "You have to read my status update," and I'm like, "Really? This is why I don't log on that much anymore." And it was basically this. I think we've all outgrown. I think all three of us have outgrown this, but we've all gone through this phase. But it was like, oh, you people should be watching these movies. They're all art house movies. They're all independent movies, and you should never go to your multiplex again. And I was like, I don't need this. I don't need this. I'd rather just go, slit my throat than have to read this shit anymore. What do you guys think? Can I ask you guys a question though? Isn't it at the end of the day the story that counts? It doesn't matter how much the movie cost or whatever, or whether it was, financed on the backs of stupid teens on Kickstarter or whatever, or it was financed on the backs of whatever. Isn't it the story and the content at the end of the day that is the most important thing?
Well, yes. But unfortunately, these days, when you have a larger budgeted thing, the story gets compromised.
Well, the story's gotten compromised since Orson Welles.
Well, I agree, but these days you can knock it down to how much a movie costs as to why a story is compromised.
Right. I'm not saying the Lone Ranger is going to be.
In the old days, how stories were compromised was that they couldn't show people fucking on screen. So, or they couldn't show there was the Hays Code, which couldn't show, the crime figure getting away with it, stuff like that. So that was the thing that was hobbling stories back then.
I agree. I agree with that.
But the thing that made those days, the thing that made those days interesting was that the filmmakers actually found inventive ways around those things.
Exactly.
These days, you can't find any inventive ways around trying to save a movie, trying to make a movie palatable for the largest audience possible.
Of course.
Makes money back because the movie cost $300 million. There's no way around it.
Also, when you spend a lot of money on movies, you think that you can solve everything with more money, and it prevents you from trying to come up with those creative solutions.
Right. But
that's exactly right.
I agree with both of you, but I guess the point I'm making, and Jamie, you brought this up before, in interviews and everything. I don't like this thing. Everything a studio releases is bad and evil, and the independent film is just the salt of the earth, and we're all guilty. I think.
I definitely agree with that, though.
But the reason I bring this up is because it just upsets me because we all I think used to go. We went through this phase. I think all three of us and everyone who's been on this show has gone through this phase, but I don't believe that anymore. I don't believe that.
I was always very ecumenical about loving studio things and independent things just as equally. Like I never had this thing of like, ooh, it's a studio movie. I'm not going to see it because I'm an art house person. I'm not that person.
No, I know you're not. And I know Jamie.
I found, but even back, I never went through that phase. Is what I'm saying. I always found that to be like a very facile sort of like childish way of looking at things. Like it was just a way. It was a way of limiting yourself so that you didn't have to pay attention to the studio stuff. All you paid attention to was this. And I find this to be true too with a lot of people. At least in the movie circles that I go through on the internet, a lot of people have that thing with foreign films. They're like, I only like foreign films. I don't like it. I used to work for a guy that said I don't like anything that's American. If it's in English, I don't like it. I just like foreign films, and I thought that was strange too because. The one thing that you're missing in foreign films, if you don't speak the language, is the language that the movie is in, is you're missing like a certain sort of comprehension of the inflections in the actors' dialogue and so forth. So I always felt like the people who like foreign films more than films in their own language I always felt they were more interested in just seeing something different. They wanted to see something different. They didn't want to see the world that they're in. They wanted to see someplace different because I think they probably had negative feelings about the world that they're in, that they're living in. So they don't even want to hear English. They don't even want to hear that stuff. They just want to, the movie doesn't have an imprimatur of quality unless it has subtitles on it.
Right,
so,
exactly.
And I think that's just as facile too. So
I agree.
I've never been one of those people.
I wanted to bring that up because it's just been something that's been on my mind, but I see this and it's just like I really am more of a content to me and story are really the most important things. It doesn't matter what language or what the budget is or anything. It's just, does it interest me? Does it hold my interest? Is it something that I think is well done? It doesn't matter where it comes from.
And some things studio movies can accomplish better than any other form of movie making, no matter what level you're on. I mean, Man of Steel is going to be a much more impressive film probably than if an art student got a DV camera and made a version of it,
Right.
But by this person's logic, it's like avoid Man of Steel. Go see this movie that some guy made with a cape that his mom sewed together and on his DV camera.
Exactly.
It's kind of ridiculous and it's snobby, and that comes from a certain feeling that you're young and you want to be different and you want to prove that you're indie all the way and personal creative expression and blah blah blah. But people in foreign countries have long envied the movies that come out of our studios because we do it better than anyone.
Right, I agree.
A certain type of movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there's merit in entertaining an audience. I don't see why you have to feel like you're a real maverick because you only watch movies that have deep, complicated meanings and depress the shit out of you.
Yeah, I'm getting sick of being depressed. I'll be very honest with you. I just don't give a shit after a while.
Well, I mean, let's just face it, though. I do have to say this. It's unfortunate, but this is true. The best movies are pretty depressing, I think.
There's
or at least
a lot of
touch
truth
on
in
it.
that.
I mean, I think that's just the case.
Know me. I love my fair share of depressing movies. All I'm saying is those aren't the only great movies.
Right.
No question. I mean, I used to, when I was working at a video store, I used to get so incensed when I would try and push a movie like, let me just pick one out of the thin air, like Breaking Away or something. Just a beautiful, funny, inspiring, clever, beautifully performed and beautifully executed film to somebody who week in and week out would come in, looking for the next Taxi Driver or whatever. I'd say, why don't you take a break from the Taxi Drivers and the Sevens,
right,
and take a look at Breaking Away. They'd be like, it looks terrible. It's the cover is all white and happy looking, and the
hell does the cover have to do with it?
There's no gun on the cover of it, and so forth. I'd be like, okay, you've made your
point. I mean, what's wrong with having fun?
Yeah, exactly.
Or being inspired, really. It's a very inspirational movie. What the hell is wrong with that? I mean...
Yeah. I mean, you can never get some people like that to... And let's don't forget, the studios do, like, non-tentpole movies very well, too. I mean, things like, Zero Dark 30 or whatever, or just going back further, to my favorite era of movies, like Kramer versus Kramer and Ordinary People and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's still, the studios can still come out with great dramas, too. Of course, it's usually only one time of the year that they come out, and we forget that they can do that because,